His son came home and was telling him about Antarctica and told him that it was a desert. And he told his son, no, it can't be a desert. We went to a desert last year. We went to Arizona. It was a desert. It cannot be a desert. Would you talk to him? And so I said, sure. So he called and I said, okay. So yes, I hear you're the visiting professor who's teaching wrong information. Okay. Well, let's just go over it, okay? So certainly I can understand why you might perceive that, but we used a broader term for desert, which is actually a climate term that talks about the amount of precipitation. The actual truth is that it is considered a desert because it has the lowest amount of precipitation of any continent. And he said, but all of that snow and all the pictures we looked at up, there's all that snow. I said, well, that snow could be like 200 or 300 years old because it never gets above freezing. So what snow they get like stays. Oh, he said, that is so fascinating. It is, isn't it? Because we've often only had the misteaching that it was just a hot place. But no, it is all based on precipitation. He said, wow, really interesting. Well, I'll talk to my son about that when he gets home. The point of making this is that his son was interested enough to share the facts with his father. His father was interested enough to research the facts and then call the obviously idiot professor. But it reminded me that we are definitely involved in facts. Now, let me take this all the way back down to preschool, kindergarten, first and second grade. So, factual knowledge, we now are really stressing really early on. And just like middle school or middle income parents give their kids a lot of facts early on. You know, they're going out in the yard, they're looking at that caterpillar, they're turning that caterpillar around, they're telling them about the caterpillar. So kids get knowledge from that environment. But one of the best studies on this was done with what's called the WOW program, World of Words. And it was a program that looked at the language skills of children coming into school and looking at a common activity of teachers in preschool and K-1-2, which is read-alouds. And almost all the read-alouds are narrative. However, in this study, what they did is they had units on content area, domain-specific science information. Let's say it is on caves, and they had 5 books on caves. The first one always was a story about caves so that they would get some basic background information, and then a predictable book about caves, and then 3 information books about caves. And they asked text-dependent questions as they read the textbooks, and they read them more than one time. But here's what was interesting. The study was done in Detroit. And what they found was at the end of kindergarten, the students had the same language skills as children from middle-class homes by teaching knowledge early on. And so we can't wait. So at least if you're middle school, if you're elementary principal or coach, you need to get at least half of all of the books that teachers read to children for read-alouds be informational, because it makes that much difference in how well they do later on. And it's even better if there is a group of books on the same subject so that you can keep adding to your knowledge, adding to your knowledge, adding to your knowledge. World of Words is we're looking at that. Well, we also teach skills and strategies, how to do something. And I saw that on that list that Crystal put up that was an emphasis in your district, is teaching instructional teaching strategies to children. Check your partner to see if they're there. Okay, so for example, here is a list of skills and strategies. Throughout the grades, we teach how to do things, how to sound out a word, how to use the context clues to figure out the meaning of a word, how to utilize the prefixes and suffixes as well as the root to figure out the meaning of a word, how to slow a word down and say the sounds and write it in spelling, or slow it down and say the oral syllables and write those syllables. We teach children to answer questions and also to formulate their own questions on what they've read. We teach them cause and effect. We teach them how to make inferences, how to take notes, how to write a summary, how to form manuscript letters, how to solve an equation, how to represent a number as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage, how to do multi-step story problems, how to do a science experiments, how to figure out the credibility of a website, how to keyboard accurately and fluently, how to do things. So across grades, we teach kids how to do things. And we know that it makes a difference. And so if we look at Hattie's effect sizes on metacognitive strategies where you're thinking about your own thinking. Did I solve this and get the right answer? Could I predict that answer? And so I am thinking about my thinking as well as teaching directly strategies makes a big difference. And just like when we teach knowledge, we want to be selective. We want to pick strategies that are, what, everyone? Critical. For example, being able to use context clues is a critical area, which I need a strategy for. And I want it to be useful in the, what, everyone, the moment. I also want it to be something still useful in the future. So, for example, if I taught entering 6th graders in a middle school how to take Cornell notes, where they divide the paper in half and they put a topic and critical details, and at the bottom summarize it. They could use that to take notes on a lecture. They could use it to take notes on the content. They could, in textbooks, they could use it to organize their ideas for writing. And they could use it in 6th grade, but they could also use it in 7th grade and 8th grade, in middle school and high school. And those college students, those 5 big beer drinkers, they could have used a little more Cornell notes. So it would be a good strategy to teach them. And it has proven, what, everyone? Effectiveness. And it could generalize. So anything we teach, we have got to be very selective about what we teach. These are strategies, but also knowledge. I'm going to teach you knowledge that is critical. I think knowing that there is 435 representatives and 100 senators is useful knowledge. Because then when you're watching the president give a big speech to all of them, you can see, oh, there's that 435, there's that 100, and so you have an idea of how our legislative branch is formulated. And it's useful in the moment, but it's going to be still useful in the future because the 100 is not going to change. So it is the same questions we use for knowledge as we use for strategies. So how to teach it? We have known how to teach strategies for an immense period of time. Back in the 80s and the 90s, probably the premier educator was Madeline Hunter. Raise your hand if you've ever read something or seen Madeline Hunter, okay? Of course, some of you are too young, okay? And Madeline Hunter talked about doing demonstration, guided practice, checking for understanding. That was the language that she used. Demonstration, guided practice, checking for understanding. And so almost all of us have heard those terms. Raise your hand if that's very familiar, because it was incorporated in all of our teacher ed programs. In 1975, I was asked by CEC to write a manual on effective instruction. And so in writing that, I wanted to convey demonstration, guided practice, checking for understanding, but I wanted some language that would be easy to remember. And so I adopted the language of I do it, we do it, you do it. Get your hands ready, everyone. I do it, we do it, you do it. But now that is utilized everywhere in any curriculum and many textbooks. I always tell this story because one day I was in Australia and I said, I do it, we do it, you do it, and this man raised his hand and said, well, in Australia we just say I do, we do, you do. Why do you say I do it, we do it, you do it? Sometimes you just know you must be clever because they need a, yes, you have to be. And so I just said, well, you know, I was at the University of Oregon when I wrote this manual and adopted I do it, we do it, you do it. And you know, University of Oregon was the home of Nike, just do it. He laughed, he said, really? I said, yeah, really. No. But he thought I was clever, and that's all that mattered. Now, just a few little thoughts about this. Recently, I have reviewed some observation forms that had the expectation that if the teacher was teaching a skill or strategy, that they would have all those steps in the lesson. I do it, we do it, you do it. And then I was sitting with the principal, and when the principal was watching a lesson and dinged the teacher because the teacher did I do it and we do it, but not you do it. Well, some things are not accomplished in one lesson. And so oftentimes it is over time. For example, raise your hand if you work with, let's say, third graders. Raise your hand if you work with third graders or support people who work with third graders. Okay. And so, let's say I'm teaching them how to write a well-written paragraph with a topic sentence and related sentences, even transition words. And first I model it. I write a paragraph pointing out the topic sentence, the sentences that carry details that go with that, and the use of transition words. And then we write one together. And then the next day we write one together. And then the next day we write one together. But then I begin fading out my help a little bit. Then we write another one together. And then they have to do more, another one together, and another one together. All leading up to you write it. It's not going to happen in one day if it is something that is demanding and is complex. So we have to be certain that we don't get captured by expectations that simply would not be good instruction. So it could go like this. I do it, we do it, we do it, we do it, we do it. That's a gradual release of responsibility. We do it, now you do it. So show me the more complex strategies, everybody. I do it, we do it, we do it, we do it, we do it, you do it. Okay, so I'm going to model this with a strategy that came out of the research of Doug and Lynn Fuchs and Pat Mathis when they were all at Vanderbilt. Now they've all left Vanderbilt, but they were there when they did these studies. And they were looking at a comprehension strategies to use, and in this case it was for informational text. I'm showing it to you because they validated it from 2nd through 5th grade, then they validated it as a strategy to improve comprehension in middle school, and then with at-risk students at high school. So it's the only one I could find that covered like everyone that's sitting here. So, but first, if I was going to teach you a strategy, and here are the strategy steps, that's actual factual information. And so think for a moment, if I'm teaching factual information, what are the 4 words that remind me of what needs to occur? Don't say it, but think about it. And 2, tell your partner the 4 words for factual information, instruction, and go. Okay, thank you. So if I wanted you to learn it, I'd have to have you attend, I'd have to have you intend, I'd have to have you rehearse, and I'd have to have you retrieve. So be my students, and looking up here. So we are going to learn a strategy that we are going to use in this social studies class, but also in your science class in middle school. And it is called paragraph shrinking. What's it called, everyone? Paragraph shrinking. Where we take a whole paragraph and we shrink it down to the most critical information. Now, before I model it and show you how to do it, let's learn the strategy. So first you're going to read a what, everyone? A paragraph. And after that, either myself or your partner will ask you to, what, everyone? To name the who or what. That is the main person and animal, or thing. And then either myself or your partner will ask you to, everybody, tell the most important thing about the who or what. So you'll say the most important thing or things about the who or what. And then this is where the shrinking comes in. Myself or your partner will ask you to, everyone, say the main idea in 10 words or less. So you're going to take it and shrink it down to 10 words or less. So take a moment and study those 3, and then I'll ask you some questions without looking, and study it up. Okay, looking here, not at your paper. So first, you're going to name the what, everyone? The who or what, okay? And that would be the main, and tell your partner what that would focus on, and go. The main. Okay, the main person, animal, or what, everyone? Thing. And next, you're going to tell your partner the most important information about the who or what. And then you're going to say the main idea in 10 words or less. Excellent. Teacher talk. So here I use the pedagogy for teaching factual information, because that's what this is. That is information that you have to remember, but that is different than teaching you how to do the strategy. And so, if I'm going to demonstrate how to use a strategy, we know exactly what makes a dynamic versus a wimpy demonstration. That I'm going to show you how to do it, I'm going to tell you how to do it, and if it is a long demonstration where you're going to check out cognitively, I will request from you some responses. So it is basically show and what, everyone? Tell plus responses. Now, when you look at many, many textbooks, they will say that when you demonstrate that you show kids how to do it, you tell them how to do it, but they should do absolutely nothing except attend. Well, they obviously have not taught the children that I have taught. If a demonstration took 3 or 4 minutes, in 3 or 4 minutes, could a 7th grader be totally into deep cognitive floating, yes or no? Yes. And I had better request some responses from them to ensure that they are with me. So it is show and tell plus responses. And when we do the show, we want to proceed how, everyone? Step by step. And we want to slightly exaggerate. So it's very obvious what we are doing. And then I want them, or I will tell them what I am doing, but also what I am thinking. And this is where we take what is covert and make it overt, so that we tell the students not only what I'm doing, but what I am thinking. Now this seems to be the hardest thing for teachers, is to take what is covert and make it overt. But if they can get down some sentence starters, this is useful. Asking themselves things such as, telling themselves things such as, I ask myself, I remember, I try this, I remember to do this, I intentionally will do this. So you take what you are thinking and make it overt. And then you request some, what everyone, some responses. And those responses are either on things that they already know, like if I am doing a math problem with kids and they're 8th graders, and the next step is to multiply 2 constants. Let's say it is 5 times 8. I don't have to tell them that answer. Instead, I can request it. So 5 times 8, thinking, and everybody, the answer is 40. Good job. Then we could also have them repeat any information. So I am going to demonstrate, and you're going to be asking yourself as I'm doing it, did I show you how to do it? Did I exaggerate? Did I go step by step? Did I tell you what I was doing and thinking? And did I request any responses? All right, going over to slide 27. And so be my students. We just looked at the strategy called what, everyone? Paragraph shrinking. And now I'm going to show you how to do it. But first we have to read the paragraph and read the title with me, everyone. The coldest continent. I'm going to read when I stop, you say the next word. So be on your reading toettes. Antarctica is not like any other continent. It is as far south as you can go on Earth. The South Pole is found there. Ice covers the whole land. In some places, the ice is almost 3 miles thick. Beneath the ice are mountains and valleys. Okay, so first we read the paragraph. And then we follow these questions. And the first thing we're going to do is what, everyone? Name the who or what. The main person, animal, or thing. So I say to myself, what is the main who or what about this paragraph? Now, it tells me, it talks about the South Pole, but the whole paragraph does not talk about it. And it talks about the mountains and valleys beneath the ice, but the whole paragraph does not talk about that. But the whole paragraph does talk about the continent of what, everyone? Antarctica. So I say to myself, the who or what. In this case, the main thing is what, everyone? Antarctica. Next, I have to, read it, everyone. Tell the most important thing about the who or what. So I say to myself, what was the most important thing that it said about the continent of Antarctica? Now, I think it's very important, its location. So of all of the continents, it is the further, what, everyone? South. And the author must have thought it was very important that it was mentioned that it was covered in ice, because there's 3 sentences of the paragraph on ice. So I want to remember that, yes, the most southern continent, but also it is covered in what, everyone? Ice. And then the last thing I have to do is, everybody, say the main idea in 10 words or less. So you're going to be my partner. If I go over 10, you're gently going to say, shrink it, right? So I'm looking at the paragraph. I want you to include the who or what and the most important thing about the who or what. And so Antarctica, a very fine start. Antarctica is the most southern of all of the continents and is covered in ice. Okay, Antarctica, comma, you don't have to count it. In Antarctica, the most southern continent, comma, is covered in ice. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I teach all children woo, okay? All right. So, teacher talk. And looking over here. Did I show you how to use the strategy, yes or no? Yes. Okay. And did I proceed step by step? Yes. Did I slightly exaggerate? Okay. And did I, at the same time, sort of annotate it? I told you what I was, what everyone? Doing. But also what I was thinking. I ask myself, I tell myself, I think about. And it was probably more than 3 minutes, and so did I gain some responses from you, yes or no? Yes. So why should I read the paragraph to you when I could have you read part of it? I had you repeat certain things, and so I engaged you by asking what you already knew, but also what I told you. Now, let's say that I had done that with that middle school class, which I did. Do you think that it would be good if I had the lowest, let's say the very lowest 6th graders, the lowest 7th graders in the middle school, should I perhaps do that, maybe 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times more, because they are the lowest class. Would that be good, yes or no? Yes. Okay, I forced you into it. The answer is no. No. 1 or 2 dynamic demonstrations, because the powerful part here is not the I do it, it is the we do it. The most powerful part is the we do it. And I say this because some teachers overdo the demonstration and skip the we do it. And that would not be optimum for student learning. And I go in and I see teachers doing, I do it, 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 especially in special ed, I do it, I do it, I do it, I do it, especially in the primary grades, I do it, 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 I do it. And the teacher literally is getting very good. But the students aren't getting the same gains. Now, 1 or 2 dynamic demonstrations would be very appropriate. But what we want to move to is the, what everyone, the we do it. It is the we do it that has the most potential for learning. Now here's the sad story in terms of observation of teachers' teaching strategies. Most teachers do this. They do I do it and then you do it. Watch me solve these equations. Now open up your book and do set A, B, C, and D. I do it, you do it. Would a at-risk student be at risk in that model? Yes or no? Yes. In fact, many children would be at risk in that model. So we should go from I do it to we do it to you do it in almost all cases. Not all cases, but most cases. So what does the we do it look like? Well, the we do it, going over here, in some cases, it means that we are doing it together, that I am scaffolding you. What we do it is actually the ultimate scaffolding, that I am supporting you in doing it. Now, in some cases, I could scaffold it by having us do it at the same time. And for example, yesterday I used the example of teaching kids the sound of the letter M. So looking up here, pretend again. And this is the letter M. First I model it, and the sound is and everybody say the sound with me. You can see me, I can see you, so we could do it at the same time. Everybody stand up, up, up. So, when I do demonstrations in schools, I always send a letter to the principal saying there are certain things that I simply am not going to be able to teach. So don't have me doing chorus, don't have me do band, don't have me do home ed. But that last spring, I forgot to add PE. And so I got to teach PE. Do I look like that is my area of expertise? I think not. But anyway, and the first thing it said is we are teaching our students exercises that are aerobic that they could use for life to prolong their longevity. Yes, good job. And so I got the jumping jack. And so it is a skill. And so I told these students looking up here, so one of the exercises that you're going to be doing throughout your PE career, but you also could use in your own personal life to keep your body very agile, easy to move, and your heartbeat working well for you would be the jumping jack. We have no idea why it was called Jack. It could have been Jane, the jumping Jane. Okay, they didn't think it was funny either. I'm doing my best. And so first let me show you how to do a jumping jack. And I'm going to say the words as I do it. Up, down. See, at 70 they only get one model. And now let's do it together and say it as we do it. Spreading out, and everybody go. Up, down, 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 up, down. Good job. Now, so here, they can see me, I can see them, so we could actually do the we do it at the same time. Now let me just tell you another reason that we did this. One of the things that is whipping up in South Carolina and North Carolina is a lot of emphasis on taking time out of instruction for brain activities. And I looked online, and sure enough, it's just like, okay? And University of Virginia reviewed all the studies that had been done on would taking time out of those activities increase academic gain? And the answer was no. They particularly looked at brain gym, which is sort of strained in elementary schools. And they saw it was making no difference academically. There's only one study that showed it made a difference, and it was done by the company Brain Gym, but was unable to replicate it. And here's the kind of thing where we have to be very cautious, principals and coaches, as these fads move across our country and we leap on them because they sound really good, but then we're taking 10 minutes out of our 90-minute reading period, and if we remember from yesterday that the quantity and quality of instruction was very predictive of achievement. Now, I'm not saying that we can't, that children don't need to stand up, that they don't need to move, but we can intelligently include it in what we are doing. I had many other possibilities that I could have modeled. We do it at the same time, but you needed to stand up. So I did one that happened this spring. That was like perfect, the jumping jack, and I needed to move too. But we can include it. We don't have to take time out. We can infuse it within our instruction, but we have to be guarding our limited time, not giving up our time for things that make no difference in terms of the achievement of students. Okay, now, most academic strategies we don't do at the same time, but rather we take the students through verbally. And so we tell them what is the first step and have them do it, what is the next step and have them do it, what's the next step and have them do it. And what I call step do, step do, step do. One day I had people write down what came to mind when they thought of step do. It was extraordinarily interesting because there's basically like two groups of teachers. A small number of them are stepping out in the morning dew. Step do, step do. Most of us are following them and their dog. Step do. But we guide them in that way. What is a step? Have them do it. What is a step? And have them do it. And then, after we tell them the step and have them do it, the way we do fade it out is then we ask them, what is the first step and have them do it? What is the next step and have them do it? So we go from telling them the step and having them do it to asking them the step and having them do it. So be my students as we model this. So in your handout, whip over to slide number 30. Okay, so this is a reminder. I'm going to tell you and then ask you, and then I can remind you, because this is a plan for gradual release of responsibility. Okay, so be my students, and looking up here, I am going to read the first part of a sentence. When I stop, you're going to read to the end punctuation.